This video is sponsored by Adventure Ages. Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we have even more bad news when it comes to all these PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S restocks, where now we are even seeing maybe even cars going and causing major supply shortages for almost everything. That is insane, and I feel like every single thing is, well, negative towards these actual restocks. All we want to do is have our consoles, and now even things like GM, Ford, Toyota are causing an even bigger supply shortage now for all these consoles. So we have a lot to talk about throughout this video, and a lot of things kind of go and discuss too as well. But before we go into that too, we do have a very, really cool video sponsor, which I'm going to get into right now. Massive big thank you to Adventure Ages for sponsoring this video. Available now on iOS and Android, link down below, both on the top of the description as well as on the top of the pinned message down below in the comment section. You guys can download it now for free. I'm playing it right now, and you guys can go check out the gameplay on the left side of the screen. Adventure Ages is an idle, free-to-play mobile game with lots of strategy. You're a traveling time agent tasked to repair the timeline and upgrade your time machine. You grow resources even while you're offline, and you can purchase upgrades to grow faster and also automate your growth. And it's the perfect game to play while waiting for something else, like all these pesky PS5 restocks we're all on the lookout for. It's also made by the creators of Adventure Capitalist, which I have played so much of, and it's so awesome that they're sponsoring this video. One of my favorite games I've ever played. Every choice matters, and you guys can invest your resources and collect and upgrade over 100 historical heroes, from Julius Caesar to Marilyn Monroe. As you progress through the game, you go through many different ages, such as the Bronze, Medieval, Renaissance, and more. And every unlock means more heroes and resources for you guys to go collect until you'll use and upgrade to automate your growth. There's even missions, limited events, and special operations for major rewards and experience. So what are you guys waiting for? Go become the greatest time agent of all time, linked down below, both available on iOS and Android, and also for free to download. Thank you guys all so much for watching this little ad over here, and definitely go check out Adventure Ages. And once again, Adventure Ages, thank you guys so much for sponsoring up this video. Also, make sure to check out their Instagram competition on the Adventure Ages Instagram page. Check out their latest post. It has a competition to win over 1,000 gems. Thank you guys all so much, and now on to the video. As I mentioned, you guys can go and check that link down below. Thank you so much, Adventure Ages, for being awesome. It's totally free to download. Go check it out. We also do, as always, have the nice little links down below with the Amazon link for the PS5. You guys go to check and see if it's in stock. The Weeble deposit $100. You guys go and get a bunch of free stock. Same with the Coinbase, and of course, the Twitter and Twitch stream link down below. Subscribe for the PS5 giveaway. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed it. Now let's actually get on to the video itself. So, as I mentioned, we now even have even more issues, and a very, very good in-depth article to kind of go discuss and talk about on how there is even more issues coming on by for the PlayStation 5 and also Xbox Series X's. And as I kind of mentioned, some of this even relates back to cars. There's a lot of tech stuff mixed on into as well. And this is a very well-written article I want to go and showcase and talk about. So I guess let's go and dive on into it as well. As always, whenever I do get to these types of videos, I'm going to touch on my own opinions a little bit mixed on in. But as always, I will always like to see you guys leave your comments down below, your thoughts, etc. So let's go and get right into it. So basically, this article is kind of stating why there's a chip shortage that's hurting everything from the PlayStation 5 to the Chevy Malibu. And kind of like the key notes and key points for us to kind of reference throughout this article. A chip shortage that started in a surge of demand in personal computers and other electronics for work or school from home during the pandemic now threatens to even go and stop car production. Or if you guys want to have on the opposite side, the car production that needs all these actual semiconductors can affect up the actual PS5 consoles. We'll touch on that. They actually specifically touch on the PlayStations and well on all that throughout this article. Of course, also as well, there's also the really big demand we kind of seen over here for this, and as we've mentioned many times throughout the channel, the issues with the tariffs that Trump actually went and actually introduced that ended up in earlier this year, and of course also them still saying that chips are still in short supply. AK means it's still hard to go produce and make and mass make all these consoles, especially as we were talking about on yesterday's video, where also China itself is now entering into the PlayStation 5 basically market, where they have to have consoles for them. A lot of the stuff is not looking that too good for the consoles. Now, before we kind of dive into the article, there will still be restocks. This will be somewhat affecting the stock itself. Short term, maybe not so much for long term. We'll kind of go and see. But we will still be getting stock. You guys don't have to worry, don't have to stress. But it may lead to issues more so on the actual supply chain side. So we'll get into that. So kind of start off the article here over here, which is awesome. I do want to say this is a very well-written article. I already went through it all. A chip shortage that started as consumers stocked up on personal computers and other electronics during COVID-19 pandemic now threatens to snarl even the car production around the world. On Tuesday, GM said that it would extend production cuts in the United States, Canada, and Mexico until the middle of March. They join a long list of major automakers, including Ford, Honda, and Fiat, which have warned investors or slowed vehicle production because of the chip shortage, which also kind of reminds us of the actual PS5 shortage as well. But it's not just the automotive industry that's struggling to get enough semiconductors to build their products. AMD and Qualcomm, which sell chips to the most of the top electronic firms, have noted the shortage in recent weeks. Sony blamed the chip shortage for why it's hard to get the PlayStation console. We touched on this on our video channel like a little bit ago, but there's more information mixing in with this and why it's so intriguing on this as well. So chips are likely to remain in short supply in the coming months as demand remains higher than ever. The Semiconductor Industry Association said in December that global chip sales would grow to 8.4% more in 2021 from 2020's total of $433 billion with a 5% growth. So basically you cannot even note on the fact that either in terms of pricing or in terms of actual demand, there's another 5% growth when it comes to all of this, which is insane. Semiconductors are in short supply because of strong demand for electronics, which is actually something we didn't really touch on too much before, and I kind of want to touch on now. So yeah, I always kind of thought it was more so on the actual production of making the GPUs, CPUs, but the semiconductors are more so like a part of the actual electronic itself, which I actually kind of slipped my mind, even though it's kind of common sense now that I think about it, is that you have all these other things like other laptops, other computers, other desktops, headphones, TVs, and all of this normal electronical stuff that we want, especially in the middle of a pandemic, because that just means that, you know, everyone wants to go and actually have all the stuff. They want to have TVs. They want to have new TVs. They want to have new consoles. They want to maybe upgrade their computers. They want to upgrade their actual headphones. They want to upgrade their webcams, whatever, to basically go and be able to work from home or be more used to that as well. Or just more staying inside more overall. You want to have a nicer TV. You want to have a better console, whatever. And that is also kind of taking stuff away from the actual normal consoles, which would make sense because it's basically like if you want to go be a farmer, if basically you have to go and farm other fields, it takes away from your main field overall. I'm not sure if that was a good metaphor. Hopefully it was. But basically, semiconductors are in short supply because of strong demand for electronics, shifting business models in the semiconductor world that created a bottleneck among outsourced chip factories and effects from the U.S. trade war. There's another major thing that's kind of very interesting too as well, what kind of comes into the hoarding aspect of this, which we can kind of go talk about here in a second later on. But that's kind of a very interesting point we'll touch on later on. As well, with the pandemic is basically very kind of how I mentioned, stirred up the actual consumer demand for a lot of different electronics, laptops, etc. The first wave involved people buying PCs, monitors, and other gear from working or going to school remotely. Then last fall, home entertainment gadgets like game consoles, the PS5s, Xboxes, TVs, and smartphones and tablets started flying off the shelves because once again, everyone's bored. The demand's really high. Some interesting facts over here. PC sales were up over 5%, 4.8% in 2020 to 275 million units with over a 10% growth in just the holiday season alone. So if you guys also factor in like the crazy rush of the PlayStations, that is insane in terms of all that. That also reversed a years-long decline. So basically, instead of it having a little bit more of a smaller decline, it had an astronomical growth, which is, to me, 5% and 10% of the holiday season is astronomical, especially with everything else going on. Other gadgets sold well too. The Consumer Tech Association and American Trade Group said that 2020 was the biggest year on record with nearly $442 billion in retail sales revenue, which is insane, and is also projecting big demand for game consoles, headphones, and smartphones production, products in 2021, which would make sense. All of us still here are trying our best to go get these consoles, and also all these other things mixed on it too as well. It's insane. All these devices include a ton of chips, not just a central processor, which can cost tens of $100,000. So basically, it's a lot. So there's another big thing too as well, basically kind of more so kind of elaborating on, we just need to have more stuff being produced because there's so many other aspects, TVs, headphones, whatever, that come on into as well. And also even Apple was going and saying that they basically had a massive quarter, but they could have had even more of a higher quarter, but they had so many bottlenecks in terms of actual semiconductors. AMD CEO Lisa Su, which we kind of touched on before, which makes the processor at the heart of Sony's and Microsoft's new console, said last month, which we covered, that expects shortages through the first half of the year, at least. The industry does need to increase the overall capacity levels. But the issue on this is the next point of this article is that even though they're saying, yeah, we need to go increase it, it's very hard to even make it happen. And that leads into even more shortages because we're essentially bottlenecked because everything is essentially already at the highest capacity it's able to go and do. We'll touch on that more in the second of the article. The shortage is highlighting a structural change in the semiconductor industry because most of the top semiconductor companies are now fabless, which means they only design the chips and then other companies actually go and make it. But there's other few things too as well, like right here. And as it turns out, many of the companies were already making chips as fast as they could. If a company cut orders in the early days of the pandemic, which may have actually even happened for the PlayStation and Xbox, they had to get back in line. And this also too, as well as also competing with everything, because car makers also need these chips, and also a lot of these actual productions too as well. And also, of course, the shortage isn't just the fastest chips, it's in everything. So, of course, you also have cars and car companies that need to go and actually keep on producing all this stuff. So while these companies like, say, Sony or Xbox may want to be super hardcore focused on maybe, say, making the consoles, there is other demand from these major people making all these semiconductors and working through these CPUs and GPUs that basically have to go and also maintain those because they have contracts with Toyota, Ford, etc., and all these other other companies, even like things like Apple, that they have massive buy bar, basically they have to work with them. They have to supply the chips, or else these companies cannot make their products, and they almost have to go and factor out in which company is the most important company to go work with. And this is a really good, well-written article. The shortage in the semiconductor industry is across the board. So it's kind of what I'm saying is that it affects everything, and everything needs it, and the supply keeps going up for everything. So you have to kind of mix and match on what's actually the most important thing. Said incoming Qualcomm CEO Cristiano Amon last month. Not only leading nodes, but legacy nodes, referring to chip manufacturing technology. Cars now also include a set of tiny chips, which also, like I said, is kind of just adding even more issues as well. The problem is, even if that 10-cent chip is missing, you can't sell your $30,000 car, which is insane. As well, and also apparently now the automotive industry is realizing it's a lower priority than the electronics companies at the foundries. In 2020, only 3% of TSMC sales were from automated chips compared to 48% on smartphones. So as I mentioned, there's still a lot of issues because it's basically just competition between all these different regions that need to go and find it. As well, there is even also, they are trying their best to go, and there actually is good news. TSMC, which has been the most advanced and important foundry, said it was trying to help the auto companies instead of spend as much as $28 billion this year to increase its capacity, which is good overall, even for the consoles themselves, because all these places are realizing that they need to go and actually keep on getting all the stuff made, these semiconductors and all these electronic parts. So if they are finally now investing all the money to go and keep on meeking up with the supply, the increased demand that needs, they might also be able to go make it easier for us to go and get more consoles, get more other things, headphones, computers, etc., because with the increased production. But you still have to go and spend the money to reinvest into that in the first place to actually have the actual increased production come and actually going on there as well, which is kind of hard. And as well, we also did have a lot of the issues too as well, and this is probably the most important thing, or more intriguing thing to note, is that some companies, because of the actual trade war that was going on, were actually going and mass stockpiling and mass producing stuff beforehand to go and stockpile actual stock, which would affect a lot of the PlayStation and Xbox on the initial pre-order launch, and even now, because these companies either had contracts to keep on making as many consoles, or more so semiconductors, and also the actual stuff inside the actual things they're trying to make, cars or whatever, and that basically stockpiled all the stuff, which made the actual production for the pre-orders and early sales for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox even lower, because all these other places were basically trying their best to go and stockpile up what they need in general. And then even now still, if they could kind of maintain that with their actual contracts with all these major factories and companies, that basically just means that even then, places like Sony or Microsoft that are trying to go and weasel their way on in to go and have a higher production thing cannot, because some of these actual places are already fully running these things at max capacity as well, even when it comes to some of these companies. So we can even go and see that, for example, Huawei basically stockpiled critical radio chips ahead of the sanctions, which we kind of knew about at the very start of the year. And that kind of means that all these other places, such as even Toyota, were basically taking all the stock away from all these semiconductors or all over production lines, and basically makes it so it's even harder. You guys can tell I'm going on in this video. Even harder for all these places to actually go get their actual stock in general, such as Sony and Microsoft, for making their consoles actually go over here. It's insane. This is nuts. So as I mentioned, kind of the final note over here is some companies that stockpiled chips are reaping the benefits now. Toyota said on Wednesday that it doesn't expect to reduce its rate of production, which basically means it's harder for other companies to get on in, Sony and Microsoft, etc., and basically means that none of these places are actually going to have a chance to increase their production. Even though AMD did say that, but some of these other factors may also go and actually limit that as well. So a lot to go and talk about. Really quick recap, because I really went crazy on this video. Other companies are basically still trying to go take all the stock away in terms of more so like electronic parts, cars, computers, laptops, headphones, or whatever. And that makes it even harder for places like Sony and Microsoft to keep on making their PlayStations or Xboxes as well, in terms of some companies are trying their best to maintain the levels of production, such as we saw with Toyota and other places such as Huawei, that are basically stockpiling and basically making all these production facilities to keep on maintaining those levels because they need it and they already have the contracts for it. So it means it's even harder for Sony and also Microsoft to come on into the first place and actually try to get more things being produced. As well, it also factors into in the fact that when it comes to all these things, there's just so much competition and almost everything is running at max capacity already, unless they go and spend billions of dollars to go make more bigger factories to go and actually make more stuff, aka semiconductors, GPUs, CPUs, or any type of electronical part that they need to go make and produce all this stuff. So this is really, really crazy news on the fact that everything is still so like halted when it comes to all of this, and it's really, really bad news, especially for the short term for all the consoles. Now, as I mentioned, there will still be a lot of consoles coming on out. We'll still have like pretty somewhat consistent production, but we still have a lot of production needs that need to be met in the first place, and also trying to introduce other things such as like China, or also trying to increase the restocks for other regions, Europe, Canada, etc., may make this a lot harder for Sony to keep on and maintaining all that stuff. Same with Microsoft as well. So I thought this was a very well-written article. I'll link it down below, but of course I would love to hear your thoughts. I know I kind of went hardcore on this. This almost seems like a college lecture, but it's a really cool thing to talk about. I love talking about finance and all this type of stuff as well, so hopefully you guys do like that as well. On top of that, as always, if you guys want to, go and check on our sponsor, link down below. Once again, that's in the very top of the description. Free to go download, awesome game. Amazon link down below to check for the PS5. Twitter and Twitch stream, link down below. Weeble, sign up for Weeble, deposit $100, and you guys basically go get free money. And of course, Coinbase, you guys buy $100 worth of any cryptocurrency, you guys go and get free Bitcoin. And also subscribe for the PS5 giveaway. As always, leave your thoughts down below. Would love to hear, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this nice little discussion. I love making videos like this, and hopefully you guys like it too as well. I love you guys all a bunch. I'll see you guys up later on throughout today as well. I'm gonna go and fall asleep and go and chill because it's very, very late at night here to make sure this video is all good and set up for tomorrow. I love you guys. I'm gonna be sleeping. You guys will probably see me around 12 o'clock or so, and we'll see if there's any cool restock news all throughout the day. Love you guys all. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one.